We'll stick to coffee instead.
On this. That's a wonderful deal there for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're learning so much about each other. This is great. Family therapy with the coffee course.
Oh my god, you should do an episode where you get a therapist in and see what happens.
I think the therapist was like, you guys are all lost hope, so...
Yeah. Now we understand why all the weirdos end up in
Yeah,
coffee.
exactly, yeah. Is there something in caffeine or...
I think it's just a catch-all. It's just you won't get kicked out of coffee.
Or
so
it's where like the guys that are kicked out of society land in coffee.
Yeah. No, I mean it's the one place.
At a coffee shop.
They just walk-
It's the
Well,
one place that we go and we don't get kicked out for being too weird. I think that's the
Yeah.
best of it.
Which is nice.
It is
Nice,
very accepting.
I hope anyway.
Scary in here though.
Very intimidating anyway.
Was something we were supposed to be talking about?
Like you should see. You think I'm smart? You should see me trying to do like, okay, so Ains getting 4 buckets and Jeff's getting 5 buckets and Callie's getting 9.
But wait, the 4 and 5 is 9. So what do you do with the 9 for Callie?
What I do is no. What I do, I'm like, okay, 4 and 5. I can put 4 and 5 together. Okay, that's 9, and then I put 9. So okay, so 10 and 10 I know is 20, and then I have. So I take those 2 back, and then. Yeah, okay. That's literally how I have to do math.
You have to explain all the overage and roasting to Dan. He was like, Dan, I just couldn't do the maths.
Yeah.
I'm roasting
Yeah.
10s now. Yeah.
Stop. No, but like that's
intense.
that's my crying corner.
Very act, isn't it?
Yeah. It's nice.
I feel like
Coffee.
these conversations.
We may have veered slightly
Yeah,
off course.
they're like 90
Yeah.
miles an hour. I'm trying to keep up here. It is a struggle.
I like feeding animals. I was feeding ducks yesterday.
I see.
That's my crying corner. There's answer.
Yeah.
It's okay. We had a girl that worked for us for a long time. It's very much in your mindset. So I think I'm slightly more
Yeah,
tuned
you're-
into all this,
yeah.
so it's fine.
I'll
you know?
let you deal.
So welcome to the coffee course. I don't know how much of what just happened you're going to see before this. So.
You guys are just crying.
But things happened.
Things did happen.
I haven't.
Uh,
Please help.
we're in Calendar Coffee again today with Enda from Cali Coffee Bar and Eilis from Calendar Coffee. And you know who I am, so it's fine.
Jeff from Tree Bar.
And Enda had posited a topic earlier.
Yes. Yeah. So, as we all know, from the way the world has developed over the last year and a half, coffee is very attractive. I think the general public have a little more money to spend, which means they are looking a bit more for their coffee, willing to spend a bit more, which means more cafes, coffee bars, coffee trailers, coffee horse boxes, coffee what you will.
There's a lot of coffee.
Yeah, have started to pop up. Almost a pandemic in itself.
That's.
Beating away the
I
horse
did.
boxes with
I
it.
did. I was talking to my friends the other day, and I was like, the amount of cafes open here in Galway is horrifying.
It's scary.
It's
It is
actually,
very
and I was
scary.
like, exciting, fun, but also scary. Like,
yes.
as a customer, fun, exploring times.
Yeah.
But it's just like.
Possibly a bit overwhelming too, though, because I
Absolutely.
walked through town today, and you know all the streets are closed off, and there's lots of new places, like say Habit, the new place open and stuff like that, and I'm walking around like, I just wanted to get a drink.
Yeah.
And I was heading towards Ain because I wanted to get my pastry or whatever, anyways. And I was like, I know where I'm going because I've made that decision, and you know we're obviously going to go to one of the specialist places. But as a general consumer or a tourist or walking through town,
Yeah.
it's slightly overwhelming.
Yeah. I can imagine.
And
Like,
if you're in any way indecisive, good luck to you.
Yeah. How was your holiday? I don't know. I stood there crying on the street for. I just wanted a coffee.
I kind of feel like that when I go to Dublin, where I'm like,
Yeah.
That you want to cry.
I always.
By the way, did anyone see the headline that came out? Dublin is per capita the second most highest per coffee shop to person population ratio.
Yeah.
It's second highest in Europe. Amsterdam number 1. So it's 181 cafes per 100,000 people in Dublin.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah. It's almost like a new shop a week. So it's very relatable to what we're going to talk about right now. Is that and just how extreme it really has become in Ireland. I remember when I first started, specialty coffee was 20% of the market here. It's now 40, 50, probably 60% now.
Next week it'll be 70.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the way it's going. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the question I pose is for a roaster as well. Roasting in Ireland has exploded
Yeah.
on the East
Big
Coast
time.
first, and it's spreading across the country. and we're seeing it on the West Coast now.
Yeah.
How does a roaster like Calendar, how do you differ yourself from all the new ones that are out there? What makes you, I guess, what makes you different? How do you try to compete and stand out in that kind of industry? I know it is for us as well, cafe owners. It's something we have to think about every day.
Yeah. Well, I guess, like, you know, I'm not in the position that Dan and Zara are in, like, decision making on that front. I'm very thankful. I make jokes on the regular though. I'm like, I never want to work for myself ever. It sounds terrifying.
Yeah. Oh, believe me.
Yeah.
Yes.
What do I say to you that when you started first, is like, if you're not a little bit scared, you're doing something
Yeah,
wrong.
exactly. Yeah.
If you're not a little bit scared now, you're going to be really scared in a minute.
Very soon.
I just look at Jeff. How did you do this?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that if you're making decisions based off of the market, you're
already on the back foot. Anyways.
You're already on the back foot. Like, I kind of take from publishing the kind of idea that if you write for the market, you're a year behind. Because by the time, you know, a book gets written, like, and I think that's the same thing with coffee. By the time you get good at something that's trendy right now, it's not trendy anymore. And I'm like a big believer in, if you're not actually genuinely, sincerely passionate about what you do, it's never gonna work, and you won't be able to figure out why, but it's never gonna sit right.
I think people can feel that though.
They can feel it.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our customers who didn't want to do like iced coffees, and he was like, I'm just not interested in it, and if I'm not interested, it won't work. And I was like, I'm obsessed with that, and I've like quoted that to so many people since then. It's like, if it doesn't make you excited, it just won't work. So I think following what you're interested in, because there's endless motivation in that, and energy, and you need to be thinking of like your fuel sources as a person, and like what is motivating that. And if it's money and success and whatever, that burns very bright and very fast and runs out really quickly. And if it's like you have a vision and you want to create something, and it's coming from you and what you know you want to build, I think that lasts a lot longer. And I think the vision behind Calendar is, you know, can we create something that is the best, both for the people who are consuming it, the people who are working here, the environment, you know, can we make decisions that maybe, like when I started here, like some of the decisions Dan and Zara made, I was like, this is crazy. Like, you're not making decisions for it to be sensible from a business point of view. You're making decisions that are the right decisions for you and for what you want this to be. And it genuinely made me nervous when I started, because I was like, this is really crazy. Like, even pricing and things like that, like they care. I know to the standard consumer, like, it's expensive coffee, but you know, it's not in the grand scheme of things, and that's because they care about getting coffee to people who want to drink good coffee. And that made me nervous in the beginning, and then I saw that no, it works because they care about it, and you know, all those decisions are coming from that place. And I don't know, I think there's a bit of magic to that. And so I think if you genuinely care and you have your vision and you put your kind of work into it, it actually kind of has to stand out. It can't be exactly the same as another person's thing, because, you know, even if you have kind of the same general idea as the guy next to you, the way that you're going to be able to work that out in your space, with your people, with your coffee, whatever, it's always going to be different if it's coming from inside. Sorry, I know that's a bit Disney-ish, but I do believe in
I
that.
absolutely agree with it though, yeah. No, you're dead right. Like for us at Cali, with me and Laura, to start this all out this year, it's been really intimidating, because like we're first time business owners, everything is brand new to us, and it's really intimidating when you see places pop up everywhere, and you don't know entirely how our market works. We're only 6 months on it. We're still trying to figure it all out. And then you see people coming in, other cafes and stuff, and you like, how will that affect your market, and do we have to change, do we do something different? And you see it everywhere, and you doubt yourself a lot. We doubt ourselves all the time, and like you said, it's about sort of sitting down, Laura and I sat down and we were just like thinking about like why did we do this in the first place? What did we want to get from this? And there are practical senses to it. There are practical like how do we make money?
Yeah.
How do we make enough money to be viable?
Yeah.
But also like how do we like make it worthwhile for ourselves?
Yeah.
You can make money and be miserable, as we all know, but you can also like be efficient and make enough that you're happy, but you're also working towards a general sense and a vision for you personally and where you want your career to go. And so we really had to sit down and think and talk about it. And
it has to
keep it
have
going.
fuel and be fuel.
Yes,
That's the way
exactly.
I see it.
Yeah, you have to have a combination of both, like the money side of things and the passion, and how can you work like fuse them together.
Yeah.
And we recap all the time, like every couple of months, about like, is this what we want to do?
Yeah.
Is this where we want to go? And what do we like about coffee? What do we want to showcase about coffee? We're both very passionate about it. How will this like allow us to stay true to ourselves, as well as being like sufficient, as well as putting food on the table.
Yeah. For your little doggies.
Yeah.
You have.
Yeah. Screw us.
Yeah,
All about
exactly.
the dog.
I know. But like I say all the time that the amount of effort and work and time that goes into this, if it was literally any other job in the world, it wouldn't be worth it. Like that's how much of myself I put into it. But like when you're building that business, you have to keep in mind that long term, to keep being able to get up in the morning and do it, you have to love it, and to love it you have to build something that you will love and continue to love. And I think the decisions that you guys make, from what I've seen, I'm an outsider, but they really remind me of the decisions that Dan and Zara make, that it's like you're losing margins on things like you care about the planet, and so you offer oat milk for free, and those kinds of decisions that don't on paper make sense, but it's about what you are trying to build, and then you love what you're building, and then you can get up in the morning.
Yeah, and I'd say the same for Tree Bark as well with the Irishman.
Yeah, I mean, you made a good point there. You said it has to be worthwhile, and a lot of people would hear that expression and immediately just go to the finance side of things, but what you're doing is you're approaching that in a broader sense of worthwhile as an overall project for you in terms of how you feel about it. I mean, look, at the end of the day, if you start a new business, you have to accept the fact that you're going to be completely consumed by that business for the first few months of your life. Tried to explain this to someone who started a business recently, and they're taking days off and only open 4 or 5 days, and I was like,
It's not good.
dude, like it's a 7-day-a-week thing,
Yeah.
possibly for the rest of your life, but definitely for the first 6 months, Yeah, I mean, look, I have had the benefit of having worked for myself for quite some time now, and I came from a hospitality background, food industry, and it was very different, and yet a lot of the same lessons are there to be learned. Like, it was a huge beast to be tamed, and a lot of staff, and running a kitchen is quite difficult, but those lessons we learned became invaluable for us.
Yeah.
We also have a lot more freedom now in what we do in Tree Bark, because it's so different and distinct from what anyone else is offering, not just in my column, but I think in some senses in general.
Yeah.
It gives us freedom to run that model in the way we feel we want to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas in the food industry in particular, before, you're beholden to like expectations and standards of other people, what their perception of how food industry service should be run, their perception of how ethnic food should be served, their perception of what a price point is.
Yeah, they walk in and they already have decided how they're supposed to be talked to, what the place is going to look like.
Exactly.
And if they don't get that, they're disappointed. Even if you didn't promise them that, they've decided.
And again, we also have the slight advantage in that, like, it's a transition we made, as a result of COVID, but we're heading that way anyways, where we have very heavily leaned into the Irish made and retail side of things, which was something we did anyways.
Yeah.
But we scaled it up from stocking a handful of small Irish businesses that we're trying to support to like over 80 Irish businesses
It's
now.
mad, like really crazy.
Oh yeah, and
Fair
it's a huge workload. Just communication with so many small businesses. But like that, like, I've worked for myself long enough, and the business model in the restaurant, while difficult, did offer the potential for more money. But it didn't give us the lifestyle, especially once kids came along, to balance those two things. And we made a decision that our time and the value of our time as a family and time with the kids was far more important than that. So we decided to leave that aside. And this project was something that we started entirely by accident, but it's something we'd always thought about in a kind of like joking way of would we do it and we'd be mad to do it. And it has panned out. But I think the point comes back to something that both of you said, which is that like right now, if you're not absolutely in love with what you're doing,
Yeah.
the public can 100% feel that.
100%. And
You know?
like, I think the thing, you know, I give it a specific example about Cali, and then there's the Irish made in Treebark, but like, as a customer, and I very much try to maintain my ability to turn up to cafes as a customer and not as a roaster, do you know?
Yeah.
When I'm trying to make that decision, I'm like, how do I want to feel? Not what do I want? Because like, as specialty coffee explodes, I can get a good coffee so many different places.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure, there's like a coffee I know they have XYZ coffee in there, I want to try that. And sometimes that's why I make the decision. Most of the time I make the decision of like I can bring to my mind right now what I feel like when I'm in Treebar. I can bring to my mind right now what I feel like when I'm in Cali. And that is like 100 different details of the place that as a customer you perceive immediately without being conscious of it, and you work those details. You can't like mechanically insert those details into a business. That has to be like, all of the decisions we make are pointed in the same direction, and then that is what the customer feels.
And I think actually you reminded me of something very important there as well. It's also, and you guys are highlighting this with the way you do it at the moment, and like, less so for me because I'm not physically as on the machine as possible these days, but I'm still in the shop a lot. If you're the business owner and you're passionate about this, forget about, and you said about like making money, don't be in coffee if you want to make money, that's for damn sure.
Oh yeah.
But if you want the business to be successful and you want people to understand what you're doing, you've got to be there. You have to be there as the business owner, as the face of the business, as the person who ensures how it runs. You need to be there every single possible hour that you can. And there's an awful lot of people right now who are starting these projects who seem to be of the concept or perception that
it'll take off by itself.
And then they'll just sit back and count the money.
Yeah, it'll be a moneymaker.
There's an awful lot of people who are going to be disappointed is what I'm going to say. You know, when they realise...
coffee asks for blood in return.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah.
Rightly so, to be honest.
Yeah.
With the effort that other people, like the farmers, producers down the line, that they put in, it is only... It's only right.
Oh,
that
my
we
job's
put
cushy.
that back.
My job's cushy.
Compared to
I
what
know
they're-
it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Think about what you said about like how Dan and Zara are so conscious of the end user experience and even like the business experience of getting reasonably priced coffee, and they're doing that to get that product out there so that those farmers are supported.
Yeah.
But think as well about how if the general public had more of a buy-in to specialty coffee as a product that should be paid for at the price it's valued at, as opposed to like, the food market is a very wide and varied one. You go out and open a food business, and if you pitch yourself in the right direction, you can pretty much charge what you want because people will accept that.
Yeah.
And there's very wide parameters for what you could charge, for example, for say a burger, from a low end stuff to up to a gourmet experience. But people have a very, very narrow perception of what the price of a cup of coffee is. And if you fall outside of those remits at all, if you go too cheap, which some people try to do, you're obviously perceived as, you know, well, where's the money going? It should be going there. And if you're too expensive, people will give out to you about what it is. But think about how small that margin is that people are going to pay, and how much more benefit that little bit would be to the people all the way back here at the start. Just that couple of extra cent per cup, or the couple of extra euros per kilo would make such a vast difference in their lives. And yet we're here in our, you know, our cushy lives going, I'm not paying that price for it, you know.
Yeah, and it's kind of a joke. It's like, haha, look at me. Like, you know, people make jokes about themselves. Like, the amount of customers who made jokes to me, I'm behind the bar, and they're making jokes about like, like, look at me with my stupidly expensive price cup of coffee. And I'm like, if you actually understood, like, okay,
how cheap that cup of coffee is.
However, okay, like, will I walk you through how this happened? And I know you can say that about everything. Like, it like, we are in such a consumerist world, but like, it's incredible. And I think I worry a lot that we're at a point with coffee that we're never going to be at anymore in terms of price, availability. You know, like, with climate change,
absolutely, that is
it's going to change so fast. Coffee's so incredible right now, and we need to start investing in it now. So as far as I'm concerned, it's going to, like, we're going to start seeing negative effects, and it's how harsh that is, you know. And we need to start putting money into people's, you know, lives and into their passions. And, you know, it's not just about, you know, do you feel cool walking on the street with a fancy coffee cup? Do you know? Do you care about the fact that people, like,
It would be interesting to look at the markets in other parts of the world though and see what the tolerant price point is there.
Yeah.
Like I know that from
Yeah,
my own
it's
experience
true,
being in Hong Kong a few years ago, and Stephen Chan brought me over there. We did a little tour of all that. We went to the cupping room and 18
Beautiful
grams
spot.
and all these
Oh,
places.
18
You know,
grams, yeah.
these guys and you're in there, and the guy who's come second in the World Barista Championship is making your cup of coffee for you. And because the mindset over there of something is so specialist that people are willing to engage with that, so it was like, oh, can we get the cup of the geisha filter? Like, yeah, no problem. It'll be, I think it was $160, which is the equivalent of like 14-15 euros.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
and people over there will pay it because their perception of it is, oh, it's specialist, so
Yeah.
they must be, you know.
I know that like the connection
the-
that people
you know,
make is wine, but
the,
like
the barista behind the counter is better dressed than my bank manager over here. Like, you know, like,
yeah, and like I do think, you know, there is a benefit to thinking like that in terms of, okay, I'm opening up a cafe. Let's just say I'm right, and the way people make their decisions is about how they want to feel. Okay, so that's about experience then. So what kind of experience am I offering? Am I offering the experience of walking in, getting your coffee, walking out, and forgetting about it? Or is it something like that's theatrical?
yeah.
And I want to show up for theatrical, and I think people would if they understood it.
We don't have the slow bar experience here.
No,
Like, there's
no,
a
no.
We
handful of
definitely
spots
don't,
maybe that in the
But,
country
like,
that do it.
I like to think that it's slowly getting there,
Yeah.
and like from our experience from the Netherlands, it's exactly like that.
Mm.
And in that article, Amsterdam came number one
Yeah.
top for cafes. to
So
people.
maybe we're
But
next
they are
up.
two different experiences and
Yeah.
two different business models.
Yes.
You cannot run the two of those alongside because
No,
you
yeah.
cannot have people in a queue just queuing for a regular 3
Yeah.
or 50 coffee.
Alongside this,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
can't be. It has to be either physically separate parts of a building, and then you're engaging staff to do an experience that may or may not be engaged with by people. You know, it's
Yeah,
it's only going to work currently. I feel in like we've all been to like nice restaurants where maybe they do the coffee table
Yeah.
side and there's a big experience about
Yeah.
it. Like remember one of my first proper filter experiences here in Galway was in Loam when they actually came down to the table side
Yeah.
and did the Chemex
Yeah.
at the table. You're
Yeah.
like, oh, this is nice.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You can see how.
Mm.
But
Like-
like I think that comes back to like even in that theatrical way, like, you know, it's laughed off as like a bit dramatic and everything like that by people who don't understand it. But like again, if you think about, you know, like the thing that emotionally gets me is the risk of going into specialty from the farmer's point of view. Like that's a scary thing to do. And I think
Yeah, it's
you know,
huge
if
risk.
if I'm a parent and I have kids and I'm trying to
Yeah.
look after them and I'm going, I could go this way and know that things are difficult but like sort of stable, or I can go this way and I'm suddenly completely destabilizing us, but maybe things might get better. That is a heavy decision to make. And they work to the point where it actually does work out. And then there's the shipping, and then there's the this, and then there's the
Yeah.
that, and then there's the roaster obsessing about it, and then there's the barista obsessing about it, and then you get it, and it costs you change that's rolling around in your pocket.
Yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
The risk of things like that would hopefully diminish the more demand and interest that comes from this side of the world.
Yeah.
Because then roasters and green buyers will encourage farmers to experiment.
Yeah.
And maybe they will have fail safes for them in case
Yeah.
a harvest doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
Like
But
I'll-
also, like, I don't know, I feel like there's so much, you know, sometimes we're test roasting a coffee and something goes, like, completely wrong. Our attitude is always, like, we think. It didn't do what we wanted it to do, but what if it did, like, genuinely sometimes it does. Sometimes we're like, that happened by accident and that's significantly better than what we were planning on doing. And, like, I don't understand the produce, like, I haven't, you know, seen it, worked in it, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I can't imagine that there isn't something there of, like, how to, like, you know, we don't need this rigid idea of what is good and what is bad, and
Yeah.
like thinking moving forward and sustainability and all of those things. I think it's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of different things that
Yeah.
we're going to have to do, but it's going to be that kind of stuff is going to be an element.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'd say to that, to round it off, is that the more that these cafes and roasters and horse boxes are opening up, the more people are drinking coffees,
Yeah.
the more interest
Yeah.
will rise, and hopefully the more interest will rise, the more people will look for good coffee, and the more we'll eventually maybe move towards more of an experience setup, because people are like, yes, I do enjoy my coffee,
Yep.
and it's a Saturday afternoon and I want to have a good time. like in a nice cafe.
Yeah.
I want to learn, like a wine tasting.
Yeah.
So they will go to places. I know, for example, Ona Coffee in Australia, they are mad on that. Ona in Melbourne have an experience bar, and the culture in Australia, and with Ona and Project Origin, their green coffee bar and their harvesting and their farms, like it's
incredible.
It's another level.
Yeah.
But I think, and a positive side is that with this huge explosion of cafes and coffee boxes and things, that we will slowly get there.
Yeah.
And hopefully, on a positive side, we'll be all interested. We'll end up paying more.
Yeah.
And we'll end up educating
Yeah.
ourselves, and the farmer and the producers get
Mm.
paid more, and they will turn towards specialty.
Yeah.
And
Make
hopefully,
that safe.
yeah, for sustainability, yeah, we'll make it sustainable. And our 60% of the producers won't be able to produce coffee by 2050 if global warming continues this way. Hopefully, with our interest, we'll be able to tackle that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a good way to round it off at the end of
Yes.
the day.
all right.
So that was today's episode of the Coffee Course. Big thanks as ever to Enda from Cali Coffee Bar for joining us. Eilis from Calendar Coffee, thank you so much for letting us be with you here today. Owen Bell behind the camera, the man we don't talk about until the end of every show. Guys, if you have any particular kind of topics of interest or any questions you might like to see us talk about in future episodes, be sure and give us a shout in the comments or DM us and we'll try and touch on those. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you.